Nearly every workplace has a fire hazard, or maybe multiple fire hazards. So you might want to include this on your NEBOSH NG2 project or your NEBOSH IG2 project if you're an international student. So let's take a look. Here is the hazard category, fire. There's a really common mistake with this. Let me just go right back to the fire triangle because this is crucial to how you describe your fire hazard. Your fire hazard has to be a source of fuel and a source of ignition. Fuel, ignition, come together, you have a fire hazard. Simple as that. So in your hazard description, what you have to write is, here's a source of fuel near these sources of ignition. That's all, that's as simple as that, really. And you would normally group all these together. Usually you would only have one fire hazard for the whole workplace. You don't want to have multiple fire hazards unless they are extremely different. You know, for example, if there's an explosion hazard due to some flammable gases, that might be different to just setting fire to some cardboard boxes. But even then, I'd be tempted to group them together because ultimately the who might be harmed here, that's going to be very similar. It's like, it's going to catch fire. The boxes catch fire, the gases catch fire. And that leads to smoke inhalation, burns, people being trapped, and death. The harm's the same. There might be some differences with the control measures, but even the control measures are going to be broadly similar. We're going to have smoke detection, fire alarms, fire drills, fire wardens, emergency and evacuation procedures. We'll have fire doors and fire walls, along with all of the other stuff to prevent the fire from starting in the first place, like housekeeping and maintenance and PAT testing and all of that. If you're watching this and you're a NEBOSH student, did you know that you have a ton of resources on the Compassa website which you can use? Many of them are very, very cheap. You've got our YouTube section here, loads of free advice here, but if you want some study books, if you want exam technique documents, exam technique guides, instructions on how to do your NG2 or IG2 practical project, you can download those at some very, very reasonable prices from our website. And if you wanted hands-on tutor support with full access to all of our tutorials, guides, me and my colleagues at the tips of your fingers, consider signing up for our NEBOSH Rescue package. You'll get access to our full course and tutor support at a heavily discounted rate. And, well, frankly, you'll struggle to find pass rates that are as consistently high anywhere else. Let's get back to the advice. How do we describe this general fire hazard then? Presence of fuels such as cardboard boxes, textiles, that could be furniture, curtains, and flammable liquids such as alcohol, solvents. There we go. So there I've got a range of different fuels. Now I need to add an ignition source in close proximity to, so near or something. So what sources of ignition do we have? Two electrical appliances, battery chargers, and extension cables. Done. That's an example of a fire hazard. Fuel, ignition source. Notice how I've just grouped everything together all in one. Now, whatever you do, malpractice warning, here, malpractice warning, do not copy that. Make up your own hazard, because if you copy my hazard, there's a good chance you will be automatically detected by NEBOSH's systems, reported, investigated. You can be banned for life. So it's not worth it. Write your own using your own words. Now, in terms of the control measures, we want to use a broad variety of different control measures. Let me just show you our course materials, because our course materials at a glance will kind of show you the sorts of things that we want in there. So here we've got a whole load of control measures to prevent fires from starting. So there's a lot of stuff in there that we could use. Here we've got compartmentation, fire doors, firewalls, fireproof floors, fire alarms and firefighting, smoke detection, all of the fire evacuation procedures, like the exits, the lighting, the drills, the fire wardens, and so on. So put down a lot of control measures, like show your understanding of how we prevent fire and also how we keep people safe if there is a fire. So we want both fire prevention and fire safety. Now, in terms of the legislation that you're going to use, so national students, you are going to need to talk about some legislation here. If you have a fire-related action in this box, you're going to have to justify it with a specific legal argument. The best legislation to use in the UK is the Regulatory Reform Fire Safety Order 2005, which has a range of different things in there. So we've got the duty to take fire precautions, which I might add is detailed in there. We've got the duty to implement fire safety arrangements, to control dangerous substances. We've got firefighting, fire detection, emergency routes, and so on. Take your pick, use a duty which is specific to the action you are trying to justify. If you are an international student, well, things are not so obvious. You could use the General C155. That's boring. You could use R164, it's even more boring. Or you could be really clever and use the Safety and Use of Chemicals at Work, ILO Code of Practice. So if you have a flammable substance, maybe use this. So let's type in flam. Got flam in here, flam. Oh, there we go. Control measures for flammable, dangerously reactive or explosive chemicals. 27. There we are, zoom in. You have a load of stuff there around the storage use of flammable chemicals. Lots of stuff. Read through that, take your pick, use a duty which is specific to your action. Now, perhaps it's not a chemical. Perhaps your issue is not a chemical one. Perhaps your issue has something to do with, say, the machinery. So the ILO Code of Practice, safety and health in the use of machinery. What do we have here? Let's just type in fire. I don't think there's a tremendous amount. We've got page 69. Okay, let's go to page 69 then. And here we've got a few things. So the machinery should be designed to prevent fire, prevent overheating. We've got machinery should be designed to prevent explosion. Okay. We've got machinery for use in explosive atmospheres. Okay. If that's relevant to your action, feel free to use those. If you're in construction or another type of industry, you know, there's an agricultural code of practice, you've got other conventions, other codes of practice, but you could use one of these if they apply to you. And so here, construction, C167, type in fire, bang. We should avoid the risk of fire, combat fire, bring about a safe evacuation process. Hey, you want to be clever? Let's use C155. Well, let's use C155 in a clever way, shall we? In a clever way. Let's type in emergency. There we are. Look at that, emergency. Employers shall be required to provide, where necessary, for measures to deal with emergencies and accidents, including first aid. Emergencies. A fire is an emergency. So if your action has something to do with emergency procedures, firefighting, roll call, fire wardens, evacuation, ta-da, you could use that one. I hope you found that helpful. Please make sure that you describe your fire hazard accurately. Please make sure that you get an ignition source and a fuel source in there. Two together makes a fire hazard.